This conversation forward today marks the end of the 33rd ordinary session of the Assembly of Heads of State and Government in Addis Ababa in Ethiopia, where President Cyril Ramaphosa assumed chairship of the continental body, the AU. President Cyril Ramaphosa committed to 3 issues in his one-year position, and that is conflict resolution, gender equality, and climate change. Now, Victor Kgomoeswana is the author of Africa is Open for Business. He's also a speaker on African and business affairs. He's here to help us understand what this all means. Victor, a very good morning and thank you. Is it still morning?
It is.
Just before noon.
We are not in Kenya. In Kenya it would be afternoon.
You wrote an opinion piece at the weekend about the timing of Angela Merkel's visit to South Africa, saying it's less about South Africa, but more about influencing conversation at the African Union meeting. What do you mean?
No, also just to dominate the action. Remember, Brexit has happened, which means the UK now is out of the European Union. Germany is the leading economy in the European Union, and South Africa is the leading economy on the large chunk of Africa. President Ramaphosa is going to the African Union as chair. Angela Merkel is going to be chairing the European Union from July. Their terms are both going to end in January, February next year, because theirs is 6 months. You know what? I just like to know that when we have these sessions as African leaders, we have a plan as much as the Europeans do. Because she was here 2 weeks ago. It was the UK-Africa summit where African leaders were called by Prime Minister Boris Johnson. So I'm wondering whether these African leaders going to Addis Ababa have any plan, as much of a plan as Germany has, as the
So you're saying the continental meetings are more ceremonial?
Well, the chairmanship of President Ramaphosa is ceremonial, isn't it? He doesn't have any executive powers. He can, of course, project certain priorities and rally and get the heads of states to act and the organs of the African Union Commission to
what
deliver.
Can you do beyond that, though, Victor?
No, ceremonial roles are important. We have ceremonial. Think of President Kagame when he was chair. He managed to rally the members and get them to sign and ratify the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. So it doesn't mean it's a useless role, but we just have to know that his role is going to be more diplomatic, getting the leaders to do what they're supposed to do. There are many mechanisms, there are many structures within the African Union and the African Union Commission that he must be able to motivate and rally. But we shouldn't expect him, when he's struggling with running South Africa here, to be making any momentous difference. He can still influence. He's a head of state after all. And the chairmanship, remember, is 1 year. You're not going to do much in 1 year. South Africa, things do take a little longer to happen.
You would have thought that with the Africa Free Trade Agreement now being rolled out, 28 ratified countries, 54 signatories, you would think that would be the emphasis, but he now says his emphasis will be conflict resolution, ensuring gender equality and climate change. How do you juxtapose one?
No, he did mention the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. I'm worried that he's not prioritizing it, because what people call conflict, Desiree, what we call war, is actually business for somebody else. And African countries have no business being at war with each other if the economy is working. So I would rather have the trade among African countries happening, because there will be less and less of a motivation to have conflict. There's nothing wrong with him saying we want to get gender equity going. But is he going to be able to monetize that? He identified that women are still getting, or women-owned businesses are still getting less than 1% of it. But is he going to be able to make a difference in the year that he's there? I doubt. The silencing of the guns should have been silenced already by now. Once again, let's look at where there's war. South Sudan, that's not an ethnic thing. It's an oil business. Cobalt in the DRC is what it is about. It's not about the Congolese hating one another and wanting to fight. They are American, they are Chinese, they are South Korean, they are Australian interests that are fueling this war. And I hope that when President Ramaphosa talked about being careful about other people who are fighting proxy wars and the wars that we are fighting not being our own, he'll have the courage to get to name some of these people who are behind this. Because otherwise we remain pawns in the game that we should be playing.
But these people are known in some circles. It's the very countries that they seek to engage with in terms of
war is business, Desiree. Since President Trump came into power, the U.S. arms industry has grown by more than 50%. they have managed to go to a larger chunk of the market share. Because when people are shooting each other, yes, it might look like conflict because people are dying, but to the people who are supplying the bullets and the bombs, it's good business. So if you had an industry, whether you're Russia, whether you're China, whether you're UK, whether you're France, wherever it is, and there's a war happening in some far-out continent called Africa, do you think you'd make it a priority to stop it? I don't think so.
So are we saying that the priorities he's opted to choose for are things he can't deliver, really?
No. As long as he knows the levers he has to pull. Remember, it's ceremonial.
Yeah.
I say it's not a useless position. It's ceremonial as long as he knows the levers to pull. You want to motivate 54 African countries to pull in one direction. That's why I'm saying I would like to see a lot more of trade happening. Because the conflicts, he's just going to run into people who are financing the wars because it benefits them economically. He might still just be... Remember, he's got his own problems back here at home. And so I don't know how he's going to be able to rally all these people and fight the US and fight the UK and fight Europe and Chinese, because everybody is in on this action, and unless you are able to rally the people and get them to stop acting like slaves when we are supposed to have ended slavery long ago, he's going to be there, but he will be gone and nobody will remember his role.
The other priority of effecting gender equality, how significant is it that he mentioned this in a room full of men?
Because
at least 99.9%.
Yes,
there's men in there. Nolita Fakude, in her book Boardroom Dancing, talks about when democracy came about in South Africa, and the men were saying, stop it with the women. It's it's our turn, the men.
Men can be stupid like that. Look, there's proof that businesses that are run by women do better. They deliver better sales growth, they deliver better profit growth and return in general. Women are a lot more reconciliatory. If women were running half the countries of the world, there would be as many wars as they are. So women in power is a no-brainer. We should have done it long ago. So I commend President Ramaphosa for raising it, because men in Africa like to say, stay away from that. They like to talk culture, they like to talk tradition, when all they are saying is leave us men in power, leave patriarchy alone. Kudos to him. Hopefully he will use the fact that South Africa has more women politicians and countries like Rwanda that have led in that, and bring in a bit of youth as well, because I don't like old women either. I don't like old men. They are messing up the continent. They have messed up way too much. I want more younger. So I wish he could have said women and talked about youth as well.
Absolutely. Can South Africa or the continent take charge of the climate change conversation?
We can, except we shouldn't be playing the game again of the developed countries. The developed countries built their economies polluting the environment. So they shouldn't put us under too much pressure. We still have coal here that we must use. So I agree we must be climate change conscious, but we should still make money out of the coal that, by the way, has ravaged our continent. We can't now be told, stop everything because the renewable energy is in town. How long are you going to take? We don't even have... So I would say climate change for our children, for the planet, is an important topic, but let's be realistic about it.
May is Africa Month. The President is talking about bringing the Silencing the Guns Summit, yet another summit.
Summits are okay as long as you prepare. In between the summits, you must do the work. The problem with African leaders, whether they are private sector or public sector, is in between the summits, they don't work. It's almost like they live from suitcase to suitcase. I'm out of the country, I'm going there. Hey, do the work in between. Because if you do the work, when you come to the summit, you have reports, you have problems identified, you have action plans.
You have evidence-based
evidence-based. And most of all, you have the people who are participants in the conflicts you're trying to silence. Let's hear the women who are paying the price when the guns are ravaging their continents. Maybe we'll be a lot more empathetic.
I'm told in my ear time is against us, but thank you so much. Victor Kgomoeswana is the author of Africa is Open for Business and speaker on African business affairs. He was helping us make sense of conversations coming out of the 33rd ordinary session of the African Union ending today in Addis Ababa in Ethiopia. Thanks again for watching the agenda this morning.